Hello everybody, this is Raspberry Barrel here, back at it again, and today we'll be reading a biography by MewniHistorian, the biography of Hemera, the Bright Knight. Please forgive me if I stutter, hesitate, or mispronounce anything. I'm for any noises in the background. Let's not waste any time, let's get right into it. Hemera, the Bright Knight. Though born with the sea in her blood, she wished to explore all lands, venturing to places far and wide, untouched by Mewni hands. Hemera, born Cork 21st, 905 BS, died Thurk 85th, 853 BS, was Queen 882 BS through 853 BS, married to Jab Spiderbite, children Nebula Butterfly and Luna Butterfly, Riordan. Hemera's wand was way shorter than her father's, like her foremothers. Her wand was gold, with some brass pieces. While it had two pink gems, the one on the handle was a diamond. The bottom one was a rose quartz, which powered her wand. Her wand was the second to have wings, just simple feathery wings, and the glass of the magnifying glass was night sands, found in the midnight deserts. Its dark color magnifies the sun's energy, perfect for pyro magic. Her father's mill horse retired, so hers was powered by a young colt named Applejack. Hemera's crown was all platinum, not silver, except for the gems. They were light hue sapphires that she found in her first expedition and placed in her crown. Princess Hemera was born on Cork 21st, 905 BS, day after the summer solstice. Queen Dipper her father and King Cleo her mother. She looked like her mother, her eyes and hair, but her father she bared upwards dark blue crescent moons on her cheeks, a feature that was now only seen in the butterfly family. As a girl, Hemera's future as queen was secure, and the kingdom rejoiced at the birth of the new heir, but soon enough her mother Cleo got pregnant the next year, and the following. Before Hemera turned 2, she gained a little sister, who took after their dad's side of the family with her hair and eyes, and had red planets on her cheeks, Orbita, while a tentative from Hemera was also divided to Orbita. She never felt jealous. Hemera was a happy child, loved playing with her little sister. She also became close with her cousin Stephen when they got older. In 900 BS, for her 5th birthday, Hemera and her family went to the beach, and she found a clam with a beautiful pink pearl on the inside. When they got back, her father Dipper fashioned it into a beautiful ring that Hemera would wear on special occasions, and soon in 898 BS, Hemera was told by her parents she was expecting another sister, only to be surprised with a brother, Alexander, but Hemera didn't care and loved him. While Hemera was described as a kind and caring girl, she could be a bit explosive when angry. When she attended a ball at the age of 7, a mountains boy stepped on her foot and she drove her heel into his. She was also known to punch the walls when upset. Once while on a ship, she punched the mast so hard it split into two like it was a twig. Her sister was no better. Orbita was known to throw friendly punches and head slaps on a regular basis, while her brother Alexander was like her father, a gentle soul all the way through. He was the only one the two sisters couldn't stay mad at. On her balcony, Marzac buttercups grew all around them, and she would put them in her hair in the morning, making her feel pretty. But she wouldn't in no way be categorizing as a girly princess, her parents having to use magic just to get her into a bath. Hemera was closest in age to her sister, but the two always included Alexander in what they did. He once said he felt like he had brothers over sisters, which Hemera found funny. The three of them also would play with their cousin Stephen Lazuli. The four would often wrestle in a boar pit, minus the boars, and they would all have a hoot of a time. As for Hemera and Orbita's anger management, their father Dipper placed them in warrior training to better control their outbursts, though it didn't always work. At the age of 12 in 893 BS, Hemera and her cousin Stephen snuck out of the castle while his family was visiting and wandered around the capital, Hemera having to put mud on her cheeks to disguise herself. They were just walking around and saw that many people were packing to travel to the newly discovered archipelago, a place Hemera wanted to see for herself one day. When Hemera was 14 in 891 BS, she inherited the magic wand from her father. When she grabbed it, the spear shortened into a magnifying glass the size of the wands wielded by the prior queens, and with that Hemera also inherited the Book of Spells. One of the first things she did with the wand was get a book on fire by focusing the sun, then created a rainbow, but then discovered that they can easily then catch on fire, burning down her bedroom. She also made a bubble blowing spell, one that she used playing with her little brother and future daughter. While the wand allowed her to see objects up close, she also crafted a spell that allowed her to view faraway objects in it with great details, often using the spell outside the window to people watch the citizens below, and even the villages far away. The following year, when she was 15, she went through puberty, though she made it to the bunker in time, so no disasters there. Hemera's temper, her not being allowed to play the flags. In 890 BS, Hemera and her family attended the coronation of King Mewni. While they weren't in a rush to get back home, Hemera was curious about the lands her grandmother found and expanded to, wondering what was beyond the western coast. When her father told her no ships ever returned from the region, she began to think maybe she could, what with her magic and all. While Hemera had a habit of scaring off boyfriends, her latest one, Jab Spiderbite, stayed with her the longest and tagged along when he saw her sneak out of the Firefly Castle, his family being there for the coronation as well. Together the two traveled to the glass beaches of what is now the Quartz's land, and they took a boat and traveled across the seas. She learned basic sailing skills from her father, and together the two of them traveled across the now Lapis Sea. Besides a couple of massive sea serpents, the journey went smooth, and the two discovered a graveyard of ships a little over a week into their journey, likely the ships her father told her about that never returned. Together the two traveled until they found a suitable coast to land on, and the two became the first to set foot on this new land. The two eagerly traveled into this new land, Hemera feeling so happy. Both her father and grandmother found new lands, and now she has, at 15 no less. The two traveled along the coast, documenting this new land, and soon the two went back to the boat and left for home, but were found by Dipper's search party. Hemera and Jab were scolded by their parents for what they did, and Hemera by her sister for leaving her behind, got a slap on the back of the head. But her dad was excited about this new land. They went back to Luciolelis to get a proper ship and sailed off to this new lands. While there were groups that went to look at this new land, Hemera was confined to the ships. Her mother Cleo used magic to make sure of that. The discovery of monsters did throw caution to the wind, and Hemera and her family traveled around this new continent to New Moon Harbor and went back home. Hemera was further grounded for a month, her meals brought to her room. After she turned 16 in 889 BS, she asked her parents if she could lead expeditions into the new lands, and they agreed when she turned 17 the next year. During that time, Hemera gathered forces, volunteers to explore the new lands, and a few people joined, but not quite as many as she would have hoped. She did get her cousin Stephen Lasley to come, as well as Lord Copper Monarch and the son of Sylvian, a year older than her. Together the three gathered a party of 30 volunteers. Truthfully, most were around their age. The day after her 17th birthday in 888 BS, Hemera and her party, the Terran Explorania, or Land Explorers in modern translation, and after traveling to New Moon Harbor, they set off to the new lands, much of which was still unknown in the year that passed. After a few weeks, they reached what would then be western coast of the new continent, and thus the expedition began. They sticked to the Mornicoran Peninsula, learning its shape in about a month and named it that, even discovering an island where a brown would be. Within this land they came across many monsters, with very large external teeth, tusks, and in future times these would be taken as trophies. While they had never come across these types of monsters before now, they still feared them humans, though not as much as the monsters of Lebellion and Lucioleus. Like her grandmother, Hemera kept records of the creatures they came across, and the land itself, how different it was from back home, or even Lucioleus. With the lands void of human life, Hemera attempted a spell she had been working on, one so strong she hadn't attempted its full force before. She attempted to harness the enormous power of the sun itself and concentrate it into a single blast, but this spell worked too well. The fire blast was too strong and set a forest on a blaze, so hot it was reduced to ash too quickly to put out. She eventually got control of it, but a few more forests suffered before. Hemera and two Turanian Explorania members. Eventually the party moved farther south of the highlands, full of hills, and discovered a few now extinct mole monsters. They went extinct during the Age of Heaven, killed by the Green Death. These creatures were cowardly and were even outcasted by the monster community. But Hemera offered these creatures food, and they sang like rat birds, getting valuable information on the lands, which Hemera meticulously wrote about. By mid-autumn, they moved farther south across the flatlands, finding herds of wild unicorns, and some rare slit-eyed warnicorns. Only a few had been seen back at the Farfillion in their 160 years of history. While her focus was on exploring, Hemera did practice her magic a bit more, and on her relationship with Jab. One of her friends blushed when she told her details of some gardening. Soon they reached a new swamp in the southern corner of the continent, the Ascornia Swamp. Jab's mother was from the Jade Morass, the large swampland above the forest of unlikely spider bites, and would visit her family a lot as a kid, so she ruled in this terrain. Once a catagator rose up of the water and almost bit off Hemera's arm if Jab didn't undercut the creature, sending it swimming off, which Hemera found hot. Within the swamp she collected seeds from this tree, ash banana tree, whose fruits were so delicious she had to bring it back home. When winter came, the Tarian Explorania party left the swamp and traveled further east. There were more flatlands, but had rivers filled with freshwater kelps, so much it could be a suitable resource for settlement. While colonization wasn't her main objective, she did make notes on suitable areas. When Sagnog came along, they had to stop to ride out the winter weather. It was during this time that Hemera worked on her magic, creating a protective dome that provided shelter and kept in the heat. By mid-Sagnog, they resumed travel and went to the areas she and Jab discovered a couple years earlier, and most of the Middle Lands were documented. It was during this time that a razor crane message came for her, one that her great-grandfather Zim Dragonfly passed and was being delivered to the Dragonfly Kingdom, and that her presence was expected. Well, the plan was to travel north, then west back to their ship, but given the urgency, she decided to sail off from the eastern northern coast. But Hemera knew she had some time to explore before she had to set sail, so the Tarian Explorania party traveled through the large forest up north at the end of the continent to meet a boat that would take them to Labilion. Her cousin Stephen took a liking to the forest and the coastlands they were traveling through, plus the ones on the eastern coast of Lucioleus, thinking they would be good lands for kingdoms. Deep within the forest, there was a lake called Zazaram Mazum Beku, a name that she got from the mole monsters. The lake water was crystal clear, reflective, and was the most tasty water Hemera had ever tasted. The forest would be called Reflection Forest for that, and the large reflective crystals through the forest. Hemera noticed how similar they were to the large crystals on the mirrored Luciola's coast. Her cousin Stephen said, "It's almost as if they were the one land that was broken and separated." It took a couple weeks to sail to Labilion after they reached the southern coast, and Hemera and the party began to relax. While Hemera and Stephen weren't close with their great-grandfather, they were saddened by his death. While journeying, Stephen began talking to Hemera about possibly moving the Lasley Kingdom to one of the coasts when he became king, how they were such beautiful places. Hemera told him if he was serious, then when she became queen, she would help him. When the ship arrived just at the end of Thurk, Hemera had turned 18 by then. She and her party were met with an escort to the capital, where Hemera saw her family. Hemera and Stephen were greeted by their grandparents, Selene and Azulon, and their grandmother was super excited about their adventure over the past year and asked for all the details. But what excited Hemera the most was the unexplored bamboo regions of the north, and was thinking of possibly exploring that region. Jab punching a catagator, Hemera impressed. And that was the first part of the biography of Hemera, the Bright Knight, by MewniHistorian on DeviantArt. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.